Welcome to the Sovereign CEO podcast. I am Caleb Jones. This is Sovereign CEO, location independent income, moving to a less bad country, at least setting up an international backup plan and doing all these things for very little money. If you're watching the video version of this, you can see I am not my normal environs. That's my college word for the day, is environs. My normal environs, I am in Guadalajara, Mexico. And so just a few weeks ago, I was in Paraguay. Then I was in Dubai for a week and a half. Then I was in Boston. Then I was in Phoenix, Arizona. Then I was in Portland, Oregon. Then I was back to Phoenix, Arizona. And now I'm in Guadalajara, Mexico. All within a span of about 3.5 weeks. I got sick twice, still coughing a little bit. It was worth doing. I'm glad I did it, but boy, was it a mess. And so this podcast is a follow-up to a podcast I did when I was in Paraguay a few weeks ago on how my journey. Some of you were interested enough to hear about this, and I'll keep going with this as a regular, loosely based series of podcasts, not one after the next, but I'll give regular updates on where I'm doing with this. By the way, some of you suggested that you wanted more of my other coaches to talk about where they were, both in terms of business and Five Flags, and for my Alpha Male 2.0 stuff, women and dating. Billy and I are discussing that now. More to come. It's on the agenda. But anyway, this goes back to my journey of scaling my income, scaling my businesses, while simplifying my life at the same time. And how difficult that was, and is. And how it is possibly, and this might be true, I don't like saying hyperbolic statements like this, but it might be accurate, one of the most difficult things I've gone through. And so we're having a lot of growing pains in my companies right now. So I'll talk a little bit about what those are and what I'm doing to resolve them. And it's only fair to me, I didn't have to talk about this stuff, but it seems fair to me that if I'm going to relate to you when I do well financially, when my businesses do well, when I have successes in my life, success in my personal life, Five Flags life, if I'm going to brag about these things, and I try not to brag too much, but if I'm going to talk about these things and say, hey, I did it, it only makes sense for me to talk about when I have failures and problems. Now, I don't have failures and problems a lot. I don't. That's the good news. I live a charmed life. I really have for the past 15, 14 years. But I have mentioned in podcasts over the last few months that I've run into some problems. And I've had scenarios. A few months ago, I did a podcast where I used to love 80% of what I do. I do it for free. And lately, that's not true because of all these transitions I'm making. And so right now, we're going through a number of transitions in my entire business life, not just one company, but everything I'm doing. And some of them are painful. They're painful for me. I've had painful discussions with people in my companies that I really like. And it has to do with things like infrastructure changes, has to do with things like with cash flow. So if you didn't know, I've mentioned this before. I think I did mention this before. Cash flow and income are two different things. You can make a lot of money and have cash flow problems. Me. Especially this year. And so I've mentioned this before. And so right now, this week has been really hard. Next week's going to be hard. This week as I record this. The date I record this is what? I think this is August 17th, I believe. It's been rough. And it's not been fun. I haven't enjoyed it. And it also hurts to talk to people in my companies and explain these problems and have to go through it with the other people. If it was just me, it'd be a lot easier. Because for so much of my business career, it was more or less just me. It was me plus a few like virtual assistants or an assistant, a real life assistant, but it was really me. And so way back when I had problems back years ago, it was different because it was just me. And I can deal with it just me. But when it's me and a lot of other people, all of whom I really like, because I have an amazing team of A players in my companies. They're amazing. I'll talk about them in a second. It's hard. And so let me talk about what I'm doing right now, the changes that I've made over the past few weeks, the changes I'm continuing to make in my companies to get through this hump. This is a very difficult hump, and the good news is there's a big mountain of treasure on the other side, not just for me, but for a lot of other people I work with. But getting over this mountain is going to be really hard. It's been hard this week. It's going to be hard next week. We're not done feeling the pain. But I constantly remind myself of getting to that gold on the other mountain. So here's the first thing I did is this is the mental stuff that I'm doing, and then I'll give you the logistical stuff that I'm doing if you're curious. And again, If you just don't relate to any of these topics, let me know and I can stop talking about this. If you're like, I don't relate to any of this, I don't know why Caleb's talking about this, let me know. This is valuable information. If you like me talking about this stuff, then let me know. What I did a few weeks ago when this started getting really rough is I have affirmations. I do affirmations every day. I have this new set of affirmations. It's a quick one on this card, specifically to help me get through this emotionally. And fortunately, I'm not a super emotional guy, but I have them. And I've been, pissed off, angry, things like that. Not bad, but worse, bad for me over the past few weeks. And then I'm not done. So this is something I read. I might read this several times a day as I get any negative feelings. I'll read this. And so you can copy this. It may not matter to where you are, but this is something that's helped me. The universe conspires to help me in huge ways. I underline the word huge. Provided I'm always taking consistent right action. So right action is a term that I got from Michael Gerber back in the 90s. He talks about right action, wrong action. Right action, a term I really like. So as long as I'm always taking consistent right action, so I'm consistently working hard and I'm working on the right things, then the universe conspires to help me. Because most people think the universe is out to get me. And if you don't like the universe, call it God, call it whatever. Okay? I'm not an atheist, but I'm not a religionist either, so I call it the universe. Provided I'm taking consistent right action. It's not just I can't think I'm happy, I'm happier, I'm successful, I'm rich, and then do nothing like the book The Secret. It's affirmation plus action. It's a combination of both. I've talked about this a long time. And matter of fact, a really good book on this is one of my favorite nonfiction authors, which is Robert Ringer. He wrote a book on this about 10 years ago called Action, and it's all about the spiritual side of action. When you put in massive amounts of action, a wonderful, amazing shit starts occurring in your life. And here's the second piece of this affirmation. This is interesting because this has been my experience. I never know exactly how or from where the universe provides until it actually happens. So it's not like I'm going to work on this project and this project will make me $1 million. I know that often life doesn't work this way. I'll hardcore work on this project and this project, these 3 projects, and they'll all fail. Or 2 of them will fail, 1 will do okay. And then something else over here will make me a mountain of money. What the fuck? That's how this works sometimes. Especially when you're an entrepreneur, and double especially when you're scaling a business. And many other entrepreneurs who have gone through these hills and valleys will tell you the exact same thing. The door that opened is not the door you expected. This has happened to me so many times in my career, my business career. I've talked about this when I talk about how to get to big income, 7 figures, multi-6 figures, where I drew that graph of my income, where I would try this, it didn't work, try that, didn't work, try that, and it would just blow my brains out, and all of a sudden I make all this money, and I go, what the hell? Why'd that work? Happens. So I say that in this affirmation. And that helps me in case I work on something and work on something and work on something and it fails. I just did a it was a medium-sized project to get some income in, and it failed. But instead of going, oh my God, I wasted all that time, I read my affirmation. I said, wait a minute, I put in good effort in that thing, made some really good contacts. I'm going to make money from somewhere else because of the effort I put in there. That's how this works. Okay. Then the last piece of this is 3 affirmations of this card. And this is going to sound weird coming from me, but it's helped. Feel, and that's underlined, and demonstrate, underlined, love, yes, love is double underlined, for all aspects of the universe. So if I encounter problems or complaints or fear from anyone I work with or anyone I know, instead of going, oh my God, which is what most people do, I stop and I say, I love this person, or I love this company, or I love this entity. I love them. And I try to love them. I know it sounds weird coming from me, but here's how this works, man. Your subconscious is all, emotional. You can't say, do this and it'll work, subconscious. And okay. You have to feed your subconscious with emotions. Your subconscious speaks in emotions. That's why I added this. Okay. Then, so that's the affirmation I read. Now, on the flip side of this card, I have another bonus affirmation. And this helps me a lot. And this is about the treasure at the end of the rainbow, the treasure at the end of the path, okay, which I know is there. I'll talk about that in a second. Here it is. Okay, now again, you don't have to copy this if you want to. This just works for me in this scenario. More than blank per month, and that's my monthly income goal. I have a very specific monthly before tax and after tax income goal for myself. And that's the number I'm going to hit before I am 54, and then I move into my next phase of my mission. More than blank per month, with no expenses. That means reduced personal expenses. That has more context for me. I hear a police officer. Do you hear that? I'm only about 6 feet up. Or no, 6 stories up. I'm on the 6th floor. Anyway. With no expenses or taxes, because I pay very low taxes because of my Five Flags lifestyle, is going to happen soon. That's a fact. It's going to happen soon. A year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 3 years from now, this stuff is not going to matter, and I'll be way better off. So it doesn't matter. So it's like, why worry about it now when it's not going to matter in a short period of time? It's going to happen soon. So get excited about it now. Went to a business seminar when I was a kid in the 90s, and the guy on stage was talking about this. He was talking about if you knew for a fact you were going to, I don't know, get $2 million, you're going to get $2 million in 8 years or whatever, some long period, 5 years, whatever it is, okay? $2 million tax-free in 5 years. You knew for a fact, let's say just pretend for a minute, you didn't like, oh, bullshit. You knew for a fact, you were 100% convinced you're going to get this money in 5 years for, maybe it's a rich uncle or something, doesn't matter, okay? Make up whatever context you want. And you're having a really rough time in your life, okay? A really rough day, really rough week, it's awful. Why wouldn't you be excited? Why wouldn't you be excited about that now? Why do you have to wait 5 years to be excited when it happens? Why don't you get excited about it now? Great point. Great way of looking at the world, okay? So that's the mental aspect. I've also jacked up, when I can, my meditation. This morning, when I was working, I had all these thoughts, all these negative thoughts, all these things coming in my... And I don't have a lot of negative thoughts. Like I said, this is an unusual time for me. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, Caleb, shut up. Shut the fuck up. So I had to stop what I was doing, go sit on that bed for about... And I set a timer for 15 minutes and meditate and just calm my brain a little bit. And it helped. Did it fix it? No, but it helped. Instead of me just pushing through, and being stressed all day, and stress isn't the word I would use, I'll just call it negative emotions. So things like that. My coaches, I have coaches. I walk my talk. I buy everything I sell because I believe in what I sell. So I sell coaching. I have coaches. My coaches have told me, don't back off on the exercise. You need your brain functioning at 100% during this time. Don't say, I'm too busy to exercise. And that's been hard. I've been exercising. Not as much, but I have been. And if it were up to me, I would have been exercising at all past few weeks. But my coach is like, no. You need to fucking exercise. I'm not talking about my fitness coaches. I'm talking about my business coaches. Okay, so I've been doing that too. All right, so in terms of what I'm doing logistically, I had to go back and identify the things that I did wrong in my business because I follow a concept called everything in my life is my fault. Okay, and I believe that 100%. I've talked about it a lot in my blogs. I've mentioned that in videos. Everything in your life is 100% your fault. It's not your dad's fault, it's not your mom's fault, not your ex-wife's fault, not your girlfriend's fault, not your boss's fault. It's fucking your fault. Now that's good because if it's your fault, you can fix it. You can resolve it. If it's not your fault, that's bad because then you're always going to be miserable. You're stuck in jail if it's not your fault. That's terrible. By the way, it is your fault with rare exception. People pull out these rare 1% exception to the rules like, oh, well, you get this stuff on the internet. If you have to pull out an unusual 1% what-if scenario to make your point, you have no point. So I'll say everything in your life is your fault. And guys will say things like, oh, right, so a guy sneaks into your house in the middle of the night and rapes your daughter. So it was her fault, right? How often does that happen statistically in the Western world? Okay, anyway. So everything in your life is your fault, okay? And that's true of me. So all these problems in my companies are 100% my fault. By the way, that's accurate. I've told my team this too. It's not their fault. There's not one other person in any of my companies I can point to and say, these problems because of that person fucked up. No, you know that person is me. It's me. 100% me. 100%. Which is shitty and freeing because now I can fix it. It'll be painful to fix it, but I can fix it. So I'd look at, and I've done this before, I've had problems in the past. If you have problems in your relationship life, if you have problems in your personal life, business life, whatever it is, you stop, you make an assessment. You say, what did I do wrong? And if your ego says, nothing, well, okay, sorry. Come on, dude, you must have done something wrong. So what did I do wrong to create this problem? And then you reverse engineer those answers and you come up with fixes. So one thing that I did wrong was as I was scaling my companies was I would create a team of people to do something. And I would say, okay, this is what I want. Okay, go do it. Let me know. They go, okay. And they'd be excited. Oh, we can fucking do this, right? I've done this about 4 times. Maybe 5 different groups of people. Or either an individual or a team of people. Okay, go do this. Okay, great. Let me know. And then I get busy with work and I don't pay attention to what's going on. And 3-4 months later, we have all these problems. or even a few weeks later, because I wasn't staying on top of it. Okay, I was pretty clear about what I wanted, but I didn't stay on top of it. So what I've done now, we just implemented this change last week, is that I now have meetings with every department head in all my companies all day on Monday. This is time management. I've stacked them all together. So the person who runs my company, Osher, he's stacked all these meetings with every department. There's about, matter of fact, I'll pull it up, like 7 meetings in a row. Hang on a second. Let me pull this up here and I'll give you the exact number. I was looking at it the other day. I'm like, oh, that's a lot of meetings. Hang on. Let's see here. So next Monday, I've got 6 meetings in a row, plus another 2 or 3 meetings that haven't been scheduled yet for Monday, okay? So I have a finance meeting with my finance people. I have a management meeting with my managers. I have a sales meeting for one aspect of sales. I have another sales meeting for another aspect of sales. I've got, let's see here, I've got a joint ventures meeting. I have a coaching program meeting for our coaching programs. Every little department that is important to me, and I've got several that are important, has a meeting, even if it's 15 minutes. And I'm going to do this every Monday forever until I feel we can back off to maybe, with certain departments, back off maybe to once every other Monday. But that's going to be a while because I need to make sure that the direction these people are moving in is the direction that we want. And here's the other thing is that when you're the owner of a business, and I hate this, but this is just a reality, and you'll never 100% fix this in my view, but you're the last person to hear problems. All your team members tell each other about the problems and they don't tell you. Now, what should happen in a healthy business, which will never happen, I don't think, is the owner of the company or whoever's in charge should be the first person to hear the problems because then they have the chance to be fixed. If you're the last person to hear problems, often it's too late. And there's been several scenarios this year where I was the last person to hear a problem or the department head was the last person to hear a problem. And I'm like, what? And it was already 2 weeks too late. I'm like, oh, great. So that's not happening again. I'm jumping on this stuff every Monday. So every Monday I am updated as to what's going well and what's going poorly. Okay? It's great. It's a lot of time. Caleb, that sounds like a lot of time. Yeah, it is. Well, like I said, do you want to scale your business or not? This is what I asked myself. Do you want to do this or not? The answer is yes. So that's fine. So that's the first thing. Next thing I'm doing is that I have hired and still in the process of hiring when cash flow allows, which is tricky. It's a tricky dance I'm playing right now. People who generate income. So a few weeks back, I hired someone who is a JV manager. All she does is create joint ventures with people like me. And she's amazing. And she comes highly recommended for other people who are like me, who use her. And at the point, as I record this right now, she has something like 8 or 9 JVs scheduled starting in September over the next several months. You do 1 or 2 JVs a month, you're doing really well. We got like 8 or 9 scheduled plus more. And these are huge money makers for us. And before I was doing this, it was kind of half-assed and I didn't know what I was doing. And so she's doing this. I am next, I am on the verge of, I'm actually doing this today, depends on cash flow, of hiring someone to manage my mailing list. So right now, one of the big sources of time sink for me is writing emails. I have copywriters that write some, I write some, and writing emails, not just writing emails, but managing the mailing list. I have my team that does that, but a true mailing list is managed. I did a whole YouTube video on this, on managing a mailing list. If you want to do it 100%, you got to A/B split test everything. You got to tag everything. You have to resurrect dead users. You have to lean more into more actively buying users. There's all kinds of things I'm doing with my mailing list that I should be doing that make money that I haven't done because I'm too busy. And so I'm about to hire, possibly if I can, a mailing list manager who is going to immediately pay for himself, more than pay for himself, and generate more income for us by managing that mailing list correctly. So I'm about to do that. We have also revamped our entire way of how we sell the 90-Day Business Builder program to a cold audience on our Instagram. So if you didn't know, what we just started, I guess you didn't know because this is new, is every day now on my new Instagram account, I will put a link. If you're watching the video, I'll put a link to my new Instagram. It's not new, it's relatively new. I have an old Instagram account and a new one. We had to move to the new one because I fucked up the old one because I didn't know what I was doing. So, see what I mean? So on this new Instagram account, I am doing at least three updates a day. Video and photos of whatever I'm doing. And it should be active now we started doing this a few days ago. There's like a week lag time, and then we execute. So by the time you hear this podcast or watch this, you'll be able to get in on this. This is content I don't produce here at YouTube or here at the podcast. This is new content I'm doing, okay? These brief little videos, and I'm focusing on location-dependent income as a coach, consultant, or a service provider, and then a location-dependent lifestyle, and then like vlogging type stuff. Doing that hardcore. And the reason for that is not to grow my Instagram channel. I don't care about social media. I've said many times. It's to cultivate the cold people we get from our ads into our Instagram channel to generate sales calls from that. So that generates an income, okay? The next thing I've done is we have some salespeople who are on the phone salespeople, and I hired Ross Jeffries, did some videos with him. He is now focused on business stuff rather than dating stuff, but he uses the same material in terms of subliminal, subconscious stuff. And he has helped him, and the guy who runs my Instagram, a guy named Nizar, have both worked with all my salespeople. We have gotten our close rates from around 13 to 18% to, this is amazing, our last run of calls to the warm audience, 84% close rate on phone calls. 84%. So from the teens to 84%. Woo! Okay, cool. Which gives you more confidence to pump more ads into that machine. Make sense? So that's a few things that I've been doing. Oh, lastly, I think I mentioned this. I almost forgot. There's so many things going on right now. Hired a CFO. I think I may have mentioned this in prior podcasts. I don't remember. But one of the things that my business coaches were telling me was, Caleb, do you have a CFO? I'm like, oh, no. I'm like, dude, you should have had one maybe a year or two ago. So here's how it works. When you have a smaller company, even if you're making 6 figures, if it's a smaller company that's more simple, you don't need a CFO. You can just operate on a cash basis. It's all fine. I don't have a small company anymore. It grew fast. Some of it grew too fast, and this is my fault. So I've hired a CFO to run the finances so that we never have these cash flow problems again. And it's a lot of work. And my coaches, to be fair, told me this is going to be a lot about Caleb. You're going to hate it. It's going to be a lot of work. They're going to want a lot of material. It's going to take a lot of time. You're like, why am I doing this when I could be running my business? You got to do it. You got to get through this trough to get to the goal in their end. So I'm working with the CFO right now where we're quantifying every single product in the business in terms of profitability, which I was doing but not doing well because I'm not a CFO. I'm not a financial guy, right? Every single event, every single process in the business, every single person in the business with a kind of a mini P&L, and then cash flow management where when cash comes in, what do you pay, what do you retain based on future expenses the cash flow was created from. So for example, if you run an event, you get income, that creates an expense 4 months down the road, right? For example, if you do an event, or 2 months down the road, you can't just take all that money and spend it on ads to grow the business, which is what I was doing. Okay, not literally, but close. Instead, you got to say, okay, what's due because of this occurrence? Where do we put aside? Where do we strategically align our money so that we have a very smoothly running business when you have a business like mine where you have a lot of money in some months and low money in other months? Okay, so I'm doing that as well. There's all kinds of things I've been doing. I could go on for the next probably half an hour all the list of shit I'm doing to resolve these problems. But just to be aware, that's what I'm doing. I'm tackling this mentally, a little bit physically, and I'm also tackling this logistically. And as I said, the pain is not over. The last few weeks have been difficult. The next few weeks are going to be difficult. It's going to suck ass. In about 3 months. So this is what? This is mid-August. So let's map this out in my brain for more positivity. Mid-September, mid-October, mid-November. Yeah, by mid-November, for a number of different reasons, both in terms of the finance of the company and the sales of the company and certain like business loans to be paid off by then and a bunch of other things I'm doing. Life's going to be really good. It's going to be really good because we're never, ever, ever going to have this problem ever again. That is my vow to myself. I made this vow to my team. I made this vow to the universe. This is never going to happen again, ever. This is painful. And as you guys know, if you know me very well, I don't like pain. I don't like drama. I'm not having drama. That's the personal parallel is business problems are not drama. Drama is in your personal life. But I don't like any pain. I like being happy. I like being happy all the time. That's what I teach. So my goal is to get out of this as fast as humanly possible. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but the vow I've made to myself and to everyone I know is that this is never going to happen again. Ever, never, ever. I am never going through this again, even though I'm still going to scale. So like I said, I'll end with this. My objective is to scale what I'm doing as well as simplify what I'm doing at the same time. And it's hard, and I'm going to keep doing it. I haven't changed my mind on this stuff. I have doubled down on my goals through this chaos. It's not really chaos. Well, there's some chaos. There's some chaos. I've doubled down on what I want. I've doubled down. I'm not like, well, do I really want this? And I've mentioned this before. It's not like I've questioned, well, geez, is this really worth it? I've never had those thoughts. Not once, not once, not once. The worst thoughts I've had is, what is the worst case scenario? What do I do? I've had that thought. You kind of need to address those thoughts. But I've never had a thought, am I doing the right thing? Do I want to do this? Am I still committed to this? Never had those thoughts because I'm 100% in. I'm all in on this stuff. And what's great is my team is. I did a post on our base camp about these problems. And I said, look, if any of you want out, I'll tell you this, I'll be real honest with you guys. I said, if any of you want out because of these problems, because we're not over yet, there's problems going to remain for the next few weeks at least. If any of you want out, you let me know. We'll come up with an exit that makes sense for you. No hard feelings. This is my fault, not yours. Sent that to 22 people. Not one person said I want out. The opposite occurred. A bunch of people said, Caleb, I'm here with you, man. I'm in this with you. I believe what you're doing. I'm here with you. Let's do it. Cool. So that also helps. I'll end with that. Is having a good team of people who like what you're doing and like you and believe in what you're doing and who are very good people and very effective people and in some cases passionate people, that also helps. Billy, Jeff, Osher, I mean, a lot of you know these people. So there you go. So again, I'll do maybe another update on this in the next few weeks. Hopefully the next time I update you on this. I'm not going to do every podcast on this because I think that'd be boring. But hopefully in the next few weeks when I give you the next update, things won't be quite as bad. Really depends. That's the other problem is I don't know when this will be over. It's like, okay, this is done in 40 days. I don't know. I mean, I'm giving guesses, but hopefully you'll have better news for me. But again, just realize that this is part of life, especially as you improve. I keep saying I'll end with this. I will definitely end with this. As you improve, you will come up with these problems. When I was improving my woman life 15 years ago, I came up with all kinds of really horrific problems in my life, but I powered through them and got to the gold. Same thing many years ago when I was young. Same thing now. As you improve, you're going to counter these problems, and this is normal. And you just got to power through them. You got to get what it's done. You got to take emotion out of it as best as you can and focus on results and get to work. Okay? Cool. All right. Have fun.